Greetings, everybody. Dave DeWalt here, founder and CEO of NightDragon. We're coming to you live from the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center here in San Francisco at the RSA Cybersecurity Conference, the largest cybersecurity conference in the world. We are having the 11 hottest cybersecurity companies in the world today. And as a former CEO, I get a chance to interview as part of our CEO series, the hottest CEOs in cybersecurity. Today, joining me is Exabeam CEO Mike DeCesare. Mike, thank you so much for coming on, my friend. I want to give you a hug, my friend.
For sure.
Oh my gosh, for those who don't know, Mike and I have worked together for a long time. And we were in sales together at Oracle way back in the day. We worked together at Documentum. We worked at McAfee. Mike became CEO of Forescout, kicked ass at Forescout, built an amazing company with amazing exit. And now you're almost 2 years into the CEO job at Exabeam. How's it going so far?
Oh, it's been absolutely amazing.
You having fun again?
And definitely.
Tell everybody, if you would, just for a minute, what does Exabeam do? I know, but tell everybody what it does.
All of these companies that are here at this conference at RSA all spit off log files, all spit off alerts, and customers have to have a single place to put all that stuff. And as the threat landscape gets more sophisticated, the ability for customers to interface with that data and respond to threats has gone up as well. And Exabeam sits very squarely in the SIEM market, the security event management market. But what we're best known really for is our behavioral analytics engine, the way that we detect threats. So we are at the core of SIEM. We're big data meets cybersecurity.
So now over 100 million of revenue, you raised 200 million at a $2.4 billion valuation. I always like to say that because it's kind of fun. Congratulations on all of that. So talk a little bit about like all the data, the size of this problem, because now with the cloud and obviously older SIEMs kind of failing a little bit, how are you approaching it with new technology? And explain that a little bit.
Yeah, so I think when you talk to most of the CISOs that are at this conference, when they made a decision to pick their SIEM 5 or 10 years ago, they didn't realize it was as an expensive a decision as they're realizing it is today. For the first 15 years of SIEM, there's really not even been this concept of, do I need to store everything? SIEM became the default place where all the alerts and log files from every one of the systems that's out there get stored. When you and I were back at McAfee, a typical day on how we would interface with a Fortune 1000 company was maybe a few hundred megabyte DAT update that you'd push down to them. Exabeam today has single clients that are sending us over 5 terabytes a day just from their EDR vendor, from CrowdStrike or SentinelOne. So the volume of data and the richness of that data that is coming out of corporations is growing, but it's in a head collision with the ROI of this industry, because now companies are trying to figure out, how long do I have to store data? How accessible does that data need to be? But as you know from the threats that you're involved in every day, the best customers have the ability to respond super quickly to threats. And to do that, you need a product like an Exabeam that organizes and stores all that data, so when you need it, you can interface with it.
So you've almost been building like a security data lake in a lot of ways, and this behavioral analytics is really key to me. Talk a little bit about what behavioral analytics is, and maybe how AI is playing a role with Exabeam as well.
Yeah, for sure. The volume of data problem is one that everybody is wrestling with, but what really separates Exabeam from the rest of the pack is the typical SIEM market is built off search and correlation. I'm going to have an army of analysts. They're going to have a search place that they can go interface with data, and when they find something, they write a correlation rule, right? It's typically a trigger off to your source system to take an action. The strength of our product is the fact that we've built behavioral analytics to be far more granular. If a customer has Exabeam under management, every device and every user in that company, we're building a baseline profile for. We call that a histogram, a complex set of tables that understand and baseline what applications that user typically logs into, when do they work, how many emails do they send a day, who do they interface with the most. And the reason that's being stored is to be able to be much more granular in uncovering threat detection. Where we very often start inside companies is in the insider threat team, because there isn't another product as that I know in this industry that we can catch adversaries even if they had stolen and valid credentials. Because even if somebody is on a valid set of credentials, if they're doing something that device or user doesn't normally do, that's what Exabeam is using to be able to raise the notability of that device and empower cyber teams to respond.
Talk a little bit about how you're expanding, and I know this from some customers that I'm a part of the board on, but beyond just IT events and things that are happening in the IT network, you're starting to get log file parsing data way beyond what you might traditionally think of as IT, moving into OT and SCADA and other areas as well. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, as the threat landscape for a CISO grows, so does the complexity and volume of data that get loaded into a SIM. I mean, you're 100% right. 10 years ago, a typical SIM would be storing on-prem systems that would be corporate, firewall data, endpoint data. When you looked at today, those same CISOs are dealing with both on-prem and cloud data because each of those spit off different types of logs and alerts, but then it spans across IoT vendors and OT systems, and all of those are digital breadcrumbs that a CISO can use to put together to try to figure out how to respond more favorably towards an attack.
I love your strategy, Mike. For those who don't know Mike, Mike is, in my opinion, one of the best sales culture-led CEOs that I've ever met. Knowing you for so long, it's amazing. Talk a little bit about your sales strategy, your go-to-market strategy with Exabeam, because I think this is like your core DNA.
Yeah, for sure. Well, with we put a new product out late last year that really raised the game for us and for the industry on scale. So we can handle now the biggest companies in the world sending all of their data to us. And the reason I highlight that is, for sure, the top end of the enterprise market is the part of cyber that is most inclined to buy best of breed. You will see smaller companies that will pick the Microsoft play or the CrowdStrike play and buy a wider set of products from one vendor. But when you get more towards the top end of the market, those customers tend to want best of breed and are willing to deal with the complexities of making different products work together. So from a go-to-market perspective, I think one of the biggest mistakes that I see companies at this conference and around this industry make is they cover too many countries, too many cities. They try to cover enterprise all the way down to commercial. And when you're a limited company like us that's only got a certain number of sales reps, you got to be super deliberate about it. So our strategy has been to go after the most heavily regulated industries, try to pick off the 800-pound gorillas. We're seeing customers that are replacing Splunk and other vendors that are 25 to 100 terabytes a day of data. I mean, these are big clients. And the ROI of our product is really strong.
Is Splunk your target primarily?
We see more Splunk replacements than anything else that's out there. Although the other, even older ones like ArcSight and QRadar are probably even more vulnerable than they are. But just recognize that of the $4 billion of spend in SIM, so it's $4 billion between SIM and security log management last year, right? That 2/3 of that is still trapped on-prem and in a single tenant cloud, which, as you know, is a very expensive value proposition for a cloud company to maintain. When you don't have any multi-tenancy features that allow you to push things out to customers concurrently, and that's a lot of cyber, as you end up with these single tenant cloud systems. I feel very strongly that 2/3 of the market is going to change hands in the next few years. You're seeing Sentinel and Chronicle, and now AWS has entered the market. We are on that same trajectory. We are a cloud-native, multi-tenant product that can scale. But as that market is shifting away from Splunk and those other vendors, we are getting our fair share of that market for sure.
So fun to hear you talk about your passion, my friend. Last question for you. I always was impressed at Forescout that you had all of your conference rooms named after, I think, rock bands or songs. Have you done the same thing at Exabeam?
I have not. We had a different approach towards that before I joined the company, and Exabeam's a different culture and has different influences on it, and our conference rooms are named, I think, after Napa cities or something like that.
Okay.
But we got a really cool conference, we got a really cool room, and you should come down and you should see us soon.
Mike, I wish you the best of luck. It's been so much fun to watch you grow as a CEO and build companies and build cultures, and it's great to call you my friend. So ladies and gentlemen, Mike DeCesare, Exabeam, one of the hottest companies in cybersecurity. Watch for Exabeam. Thank you. Appreciate it, Mike.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Awesome.